Picture this. Someone texts you, "What should I wear today?" before every single outing. They ask your opinion before ordering food at a restaurant even when you're not the one eating. They stay in relationships that clearly aren't working. Not because they don't see the problems, but because the thought of being alone feels scarier than the problems themselves. Your first instinct might be to think, wow, this person just needs more confidence. But here's the thing, that's not quite it. What you're witnessing isn't a confidence problem. It's something much deeper, something that was likely wired into them long before they ever learned to tie their shoes. We call this dependent personality disorder, and before you start mentally diagnosing your clingy ex or that one coworker who can't make a decision without a committee, let me tell you why this pattern exists, because understanding it will change the way you see neediness altogether. Let's start with a question. Why would a fully capable adult brain choose to outsource almost every decision to someone else? It sounds inefficient. It sounds exhausting, honestly, for both people involved. But your brain doesn't optimize for efficiency, it optimizes for safety. And somewhere in the developmental years of someone with this pattern, safety got tangled up with dependency in a way that never fully came untangled. Think about a toddler learning to walk. They wobble, they fall, they look up at a parent for reassurance before trying again. That's normal, that's healthy. But imagine if every time that toddler tried to do something on their own, they were met with criticism or overprotection, or a caregiver who subtly communicated, "I'll handle this, you're not capable." Psychologist Diana Baumrind spent years studying parenting styles, and what she found lines up with something intuitive. Over-controlling or authoritarian caregiving, especially when paired with love that feels conditional on obedience, teaches a child a very specific lesson. It teaches them that their own judgment cannot be trusted, but someone else's can. Now fast forward 20 years. That child is now an adult standing in a grocery store aisle paralyzed over which brand of pasta sauce to buy, and eventually calling a friend to ask. It's not about the pasta sauce. It never was. It's about a lifetime of practice believing that decisions made alone are dangerous, and decisions validated by someone else are safe. Here's where it gets genuinely fascinating from a neuroscience angle. Researchers looking at attachment and anxiety have found that people with dependent traits often show heightened activity in the amygdala, your brain's alarm system, when facing situations of separation or autonomy. Being alone, even briefly, can register almost like a threat, not metaphorically, physiologically. So when someone with this pattern clings to a relationship that isn't serving them, they're not being weak. They're responding to a nervous system that has learned, quite literally, that abandonment equals danger. Let's build a scenario. Imagine a woman named Sarah. And let's be clear, Sarah is a composite, a stand-in for a pattern many people recognize in themselves or someone close to them. Sarah has been in a relationship for 6 years. Her partner makes most decisions, from where they live to what they do on weekends. Friends tell her, "You deserve better, why don't you leave?" And Sarah wants to. Some nights she lies awake rehearsing the words she'd use to end things. But morning comes and the fear returns. Quiet but overwhelming. Not fear of her partner, fear of standing entirely on her 2 feet in a world that suddenly has no one steering beside her. This is the emotional core of dependent personality patterns. It's not laziness, it's not manipulation, even though it can sometimes look that way from the outside. It's a deeply rooted belief, often formed before language itself, that says, "I am not enough on my own." And once your brain adopts a belief that early, it doesn't just disappear because someone tells you to be more independent. Beliefs formed in childhood are stored less like facts and more like reflexes. But here's where I want to shift the lens, because there's something almost beautifully human hiding inside this struggle. The same wiring that creates dependency also creates extraordinary loyalty, deep empathy, and an ability to read other people's emotional states with remarkable precision. People with these patterns often become incredible listeners, deeply attuned partners, the friend who remembers your coffee order and your worst days simultaneously. The nervous system that learned to prioritize connection above almost everything else didn't just learn fear, it learned devotion. And that's the reframe worth sitting with. Struggling with dependency doesn't mean someone is broken. It means their brain built a survival strategy around connection, because at some point, connection genuinely was survival. The path forward isn't about ripping that wiring out, it's about slowly, gently teaching the nervous system a new lesson, one small decision at a time, that being alone with your own judgment isn't dangerous. It's actually where your strength has been quietly waiting the whole time. So if you recognized yourself somewhere in this, in the second guessing, in the fear of disappointing people, in the discomfort of making a choice without checking it against someone else's approval first, I want you to know something. That part of you isn't a flaw to be ashamed of. It's a younger version of you who learned to survive the only way they knew how, and you get to teach them something new now. If this made you think of someone, or maybe made you think of yourself, drop a comment and tell me. I read every single one. And if you want more of these deep dives into the quiet psychology running underneath our everyday behavior, stick around, because we're just getting started.